This is 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. If you want to contact the show, email 90sandnaughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90sandnaughtiesuk on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.
So in just a moment, I'm going to be taking another trip into the Empty Compartment. But first, this. Can you believe that it has been 20 years since the whole Kat and Alfie storyline in the British soap opera Eastenders? I have so many fond memories of this storyline, of the people involved. I mean, I was a huge Richie fan at this point, and it was just massive. I don't know of many people who didn't like it, to be honest. And I haven't thought about it for some time, until very recently when drama have finally got to the point in their classic EastEnders repeats where the Kat and Alfie storyline is in full swing and nearly to the end of its journey before it kind of gets a little bit annoying. But we're at that magical sweet spot. I watched the episode the other day where Alfie turns up at Kat's wedding to Andy Hunter, gate crashes it, and then runs off with the bride, graduate style. And I'm sure I saw this on first broadcast. I hadn't planned to watch it, actually. My internet had gone off, and you're scrolling around the channels and you realise that maybe the quality of what's on TV these days isn't quite what it was when I'd be at home sick in the 90s, you know, with Supermarket Sweep. Although saying that, Supermarket Sweep was on a channel somewhere. But it was nice to revisit this kind of happy part of my childhood, I think. And certainly the ending, I feel, of that story is when they got married at Christmas with all the snow coming down and stuff. And around the same time, it was 0304 for Children in Need. Richie did the I'm Your Man cover, which I absolutely loved. I mean, he was at the top of his game. In fact, so was Jessie, Wallace. They were both at the top of their game at that point. I don't think they ever got as high as that in the public consciousness. I mean, Jessie kind of did a couple of years previously with the You're Not My Mother, Yes I Am stuff that was going on in EastEnders at that particular time. But to have a couple that were almost like the new Jack and Vera, or, you know, Hilda and Stan Ogden, that were this big, Pauline and Arthur Fowler, they were up there when it comes to it. And I'm not sure that a story in a soap has quite captured the nation. Certainly a love story since then. I'm trying to think of one and I can't. But admittedly, I haven't watched modern soap properly for about 5 to 10 years. I think the last thing I saw was it Max Branning falling off the roof of the Vic or something? That was, about 5 years ago? And after that, I was like, nah, not going to watch anymore. I do watch on occasion. I mean, apparently they've brought Cindy Beale back from the dead, just like they did Kathy and just like they did Dennis Watts back in 2003. I mean, wow. These are things that you can do. It's just a thing. I can't think of any other soap that's really done that. I mean, Kim Tate wasn't dead, was she? I think she was just away somewhere. I might be wrong there. But anyway, I'm rambling on. What are your memories of the Kat and Alfie storyline, of just soaps from that period in general? Do let me know. Now, it's time for the Empty Compartment. Welcome once again to the Empty Compartment, a segment that we do each week where I have one guest and we ask or debate 3 questions. Ola, welcome to the podcast. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here on this podcast. My name is Ola, just like you mentioned. I am a journalist and content producer. I live in London, originally from Nigeria, and I love to create content. I love to make conversations, and I'm very excited to be here on this podcast.
Excellent. We go on to the first question. And normally what I do here, just to keep you on your toes, Ola, is I say, you go first.
Possibly a question you've heard before, but in my opinion, 90s music is better. It's the best era of music. That is my topic of debate.
That's a very good topic to be going on with. Is there any particular genre, or is it just the entire decade?
Well, I'm an R&B head, so R&B, 90s R&B music is the best type of time that R&B music was ever made.
Can you give us some examples of some artists that were doing their thing in the 90s?
I mean, we have a lot of the boy bands that were just making amazing music, like Boyz II Men. We had and Rogue, the girl band. That's also the time of Destiny's Child. We had the Fugees. What else did we have? We had so many amazing, like Whitney Houston, obviously. Like, just so many amazing music. The level, the caliber of music, the talent, Aaliyah. We had Missy Elliott and Timbaland making amazing, like producing amazing music. We had Busta Rhymes. I know I'm crossing over to hip hop. So yeah, R&B and hip hop. I think that would cut across all the genres of music I like to focus on. And I just think those artists and the music they were making is the best.
I mean, to be fair, it's not my number one genre, I'll be honest with you. But when I do hear it, it does make me very happy because it's just good, isn't it? Is something about the production and just the general vibe that they had going on?
Absolutely. It's unmatched, and the creativity it's unmatched. Like the level of creativity, like Timberland was actually making beats with, like kitchen like items, like and the the noise it would make would be so captivating, and it's just so creative. And the fact that like hip hop, for example, obviously hip hop started in like the 80s, 70s. I'm not specifically sure of the era, but it's just the influence of that. I'm Nigerian, and the influence of hip hop and R&B, and even the UK like hip hop R&Bs. Well, UK was sort of garage, I believe, but like there was also R&B, and when you think of UK 90s R&B, I can't remember their names, but I can remember some songs. There was a Sunshine. There's a song called Sunshine, Sunshine and Mario. I can't really remember how. But I just think that the influence is just unbelievable and remarkable, and it completely influenced popular culture all over the world. So yeah, R&B hip hop is it for me. I'm not a rockhead, so you're a rock guy. But like when it comes to rock, for example, all I know is Nirvana from back then. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne, for example. The only way I knew of Ozzy Osbourne was from the Osbournes, so I didn't even really connect with his group. There was also Kiss, but I don't really know any of their songs. Oh yeah, it's Prince. I didn't mention Prince. Prince Michael Jackson. Yeah.
You mentioned, I can't remember what the name of the song is. I think it's called Shining Star or something. I feel like that's Gabrielle, but I might be wrong.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, she seemed to release banger after banger at one point because you had Dreams and then later on Out of Reach. I completely get where you're coming from because whenever I hear 90s R&B and related genres, I really enjoy it. What do you think has changed since the 90s? What do you think has changed about it?
I think the way we consume music completely changed the way it is created. Like for example, now with social media and how everything is like, it's just a certain like 30 seconds of the song is what makes a song. And so there's less emphasis on the quality of the lyrics and the production and more emphasis on okay, this part is the moment. Everyone's just the creators are just looking for moments instead of creating that body of work that just completely captivates you and you're inspired by and you love. And that's what's missing. There's that spirit of creating art that is personal, that is inspirational, aspirational, and that's the bit that's lost. And and because of it's all about money, and it's always been about money, yes, but it's just different now. Like the quality in the art is gone, and I think that's what's missing.
Let's move on to the next question. This is mine. Is there any particular movie from the 90s or 2000s that sticks out to you? The first movie that comes into your head?
The first movie is The Matrix. The Matrix movie completely changed my life, and that's 90s. And the 2000, the movie that changed my life in the early 2000s was the Kill Bill. So it was Matrix and Kill Bill because those were just things I had never seen before. But that when Matrix came out, I was about 9 years old. When Kill Bill came out, I was about 12, 13 years old. And for like starting with The Matrix, just the special effects and the action and all of that was just completely it completely changed the way like content was made and even like the way video games were made or something like that. There was a way it just completely changed the landscape of video making and consumption and sort of the content created around movies and how you know and how we just brought people together and how movie receiving by the audience was enjoyed. So if that makes sense. For yeah, the Matrix, the characters, the story, like how like it's a story that would always live on because you always feel like we're all part of this system and we're all just part of this system and we don't really know our place on earth and like Neo is like this version of ourselves that we would love to be where we're like perhaps the chosen one or like the one that someone are waiting to just being able to see the way the system works and how we're all being programmed and all of that and so it's just and every time I watch it it's like I'm learning something new. That's the beauty about the Matrix and a lot of the time it's just watch it just for the special effects and the fighting and all and all that. And sometimes it's about I go cerebral and I'm like trying to deconstruct the things in the movie and all that. And then with Kill Bill was just so fascinating for me because this was this blonde white woman doing all this craziness and it was just so wild and I was just completely captivated and the storytelling, the infusion of like manga and then the swordmanship and the it was just beautiful. Like I've never seen anything like that before, and Quentin Tarantino is just completely amazing. I wish there was a part three, because there was this rumor that there'll be a part three 10 years after the second one, but that never happened. We need justice for I can't remember her name, for Vivica Fox's daughter in Kill Bill, and we need to actually see to, enact a revenge and get Richie Skeeter's daughter, whatever her name is. Yeah.
I mean, there's still time for a number three. At some point, I mean, in this era of sequels, it's certainly possible. To go back to the Matrix for a moment, that's very special effects heavy. Do you think that you mentioned the underlying themes and that obviously still resonates? Do the effects still have the same effect that they had back then, or have they worn a bit thin?
I think it still has the same effect. It still has the same effect, but I also think you have to have been born at a certain time to get it. Because I have a nephew who's about 13, and I've forced him to watch it so many times, and he's just like, he doesn't really get it, and you just have to be from that period of time to understand it because obviously we didn't have the internet. The internet wasn't as wild as it is now. Technology wasn't as wild as it is now. So we're sort of following that. We're like in that moment with Neo and we're learning things and it's an eye opener. But for anyone born now, it's like they won't get it. They just yeah. I think you have to have been born at that time period to really enjoy Matrix.
Well, yeah, I think so. I must admit, I haven't seen it. I have not seen
Yeah.
it. And I am 33 years old, so I'm probably the right age to
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
This does sound like a film I need to see because, certainly, as you say, right now, with the way that the internet is, and I mean, what was it, 2003, two or three that film came out?
The first one came out in 99, 98
Ah,
or
there
99.
we are. Yeah, it was around there. It was around there. I mean, at that point, to mention the internet, it was literally just dial-up and that noise that you used to get. So yeah, this seemed very futuristic. Whereas now, when you've got things like the metaverse and such like, and virtual reality, I can imagine it almost losing its kind of power because that element, it's a little bit like when movies about space travel made before the moon landing, let's say, and you watch them and you think, but this is just like guessing. We know what happened. And so, yeah, it can have its power taken away. But it seems like a movie I need to finally see after 24 years. Let's move on to the third and final question. You say earlier that you're not so much into rock music. Is there anything that like sticks out to you in the rock world? Anything that kind of crossed over?
So like I'm not into intense rock, pop rock. I used to rock with. So like for example, Nickelback, love Nickelback, Paramore, Evanescence. Because Evanescence was even like pop to me. That lady's voice was just like it was like R&B and rock. Like her voice is just ridiculous. Like so I usually always liked when there would be like a I don't even know that to be considered rock for yeah. Who else again? I think those are the ones I can think of right now. Yeah, that's as much rock as I got involved with.
I mean, to be fair, I always thought Evanescence was slightly too hard for me, but I did appreciate the singles that they put out there. Paramore, did they have more than one song?
Oh yes, Paramount. Paramount had like 2007 to 9 was like Paramore overload.
Yeah, because that's the misery business people, isn't it? Yeah, I only say that because I was in college at that time, and it seemed like I couldn't walk down a corridor without hearing that song blaring out of somebody's, what was it then, mobile phone.
Yeah, like I had that my MP3 on my phone. Yeah, I had that. Yeah, I used to really like Paramore. I couldn't listen to them as much anymore. But yeah, I was a big Paramore fan.
As I think many people were. I mean, it was them, and I feel like My Chemical Romance were along a similar line, although
Okay.
they tried to go a tiny bit more commercial with their stuff.
You know, also Fallout Boy,
Hmm.
uh, Blink Blink 182, Linkin Park. Yes, Linkin Park was a good one. I liked what they were, but also in movies as well. In a lot of teen movies, all those soft rock, pop rock songs. So that's how I was also able to learn of some of them. Like one Cheerio that had this really really cool theme song. I can't remember his name, but I love that song so much. And a lot of the American Pie movies had all these rock songs in them too, all the soft rock songs in them. So yeah,
Yes, there seemed to be a period where, like you say, all the teen movies had like pop punk type stuff. Your likes of Blink 182, Sum 41, and Green Day, etc. They all seem to be in these movies. I guess that's just a time and a place. A lot of these bands though are still going, aren't they?
yeah, they're still going. Blink 182 is I think they're on tour right now. Green Day probably. Oh God, what about Jonas Brothers? That was like late 2000s. I mean, that was also sort of rock band. But yeah, Jonas Brothers, for example, are back together. Yeah, they're still touring and they're still making music. I love them.
Yeah, like you say, lots of things around that period, some of which I'm catching up on. Let's bring this to a close, Ola. But thank you very much for coming on the podcast. You said at the top of this that you're a journalist. Do you write for any particular feature, or is it are you freelance?
I'm freelancing and more into creating my own content. So outside of like freelancing, I'm trying to create content on social media with my podcasting and yeah. So yeah.
Cool. What's the name of your podcast?
Also, the podcast is the Real Happy Hour podcast with the Real sense of film real, the Real Happy Hour podcast, and I review films and TV shows with guests that include actors, directors, journalists, producers, and we just break down the relational dynamics of characters. Really fun.
Thank you, Ola, for being a guest on this edition of The Empty Compartment. Now, as you might have heard via previous episodes or social media, this is the last regular series of 90s and Noughties UK. But have no fear, the feed isn't going anywhere, so you can still check out the back catalogue of episodes that I've got up. You can also maybe get in contact via social media if you'd like to be on a seasonal edition of the podcast. It's not going away completely, just being a little bit more sporadic in the release schedule. Anyway, we've reached the end of this edition of the podcast, but thank you so much for listening, and I will see you again very soon.
Thank you for listening to 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. Please remember to rate, comment and subscribe on your favourite podcast provider. If you want to contact the show, email 90sandnaughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90sandnaughtiesuk on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.